We're in the home of Gloria Devereaux, Freeport, Long Island, AWS member. We're visiting today with Gloria Devereaux, AWS member. Hi, Gloria.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good outside of a little teary eye.
You have a beautiful studio and home here.
Thank you.
Out in Long Island, and
Well,
I wanted to ask you
house.
a few questions about the house and how long you've been here. Do you want to tell me when you moved here?
I have moved here in 1978, but Pop and Mom Devereaux bought this house in 1963 or 4, somewhere in there. And they lived here, and Mom passed away, and Pop kept the house. And then when I had a little trouble, and I moved down here with Pop, and then he passed away, and I inherited this house.
Okay, what do you like about being here in Freeport, Long Island?
Oh, I love the quietness of this lovely little street, and being on the water, and I like the little simple house that this is, because the other houses I was in were very big and pretentious, so to speak, but not this little simple house.
It's very, very cozy. I see you've collected a lot of little knickknacks and little treasures over the years.
Over many, many years I've been collecting.
What is one of your favorite, in this room that we're in, and this is what we call the sitting room, living room. See this nice little fireplace here with one of your works.
Yes, that's the Best in Show that won an award.
And what is that a painting of?
Well, that is the strangest thing. Christy came out from the city and she brought me a bouquet of flowers. And I was so impressed with the flowers. They were white or yellow chrysanthemums, I kind of forget. And that's one of the paintings I did. It won 2 or 3 awards. It was displayed all over the United States in the American Watercolor Society. And then I did a series of 7 altogether. And another one made the American Watercolor Society show, and that one won an award. The one that made the American Watercolor Society show, plus this one was sent all over the United States. Also, they did it, and all of the paintings did so much for me. I think I did 7 of them, all within a matter of hour and a half. And all these big paintings.
How did you decide on the coloring that you were going to use?
I just love these dark browns, and I just painted them. They all were done in about 10 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
And everyone did something for me. The man that owns the Taco Bell, I believe, bought one from the American Watercolor Society, so that it's in somebody's home, I don't know where, up in Connecticut, I believe. And all the others did something for me, and all the rest were sold, but they all did awards, they did great things for me. So that, I have to thank Christy for the bouquet of flowers.
Okay, do you often paint flowers? Is that a favorite subject matter?
No,
that seems to be a rare...
I hardly ever do flowers.
Interesting.
Yeah. But this one turned out to be the skulls.
Yeah, I could see that.
This one turned out to be this rather semi-abstract painting.
Very nice. And do you have any of your sculptures down in this?
Well, the seal is one that's left, excuse me. The seal, right here.
Wow, what kind of stone is that?
That is a Tepeaca marble, a very difficult marble to carve. I got it in Mexico. And that figure that's coming out of the stone over there, when you get finished photographing him, you can look at that. You, of course, have the squirrel. But this one over here, that's up on the table there, that was the second piece I carved. And that is a cornerstone from the courthouse in New York City when they tore it down. It's limestone, I think.
Beautiful.
That's the second piece I ever carved. The first piece was sold, and
How did you get into carving? What led you to?
I have been doing watercolor for years, and I was very interested, of course, in watercolor because it really was my medium. And then I had the desire to start carving. And so what I wanted to do was carve in marble. And I got my first piece of marble and carved in it. And it was, I think that one was bought by a Norwegian ship owner. And so it went over to Norway. And that was the second piece over there. And I just carved maybe about 11 pieces altogether, and then I had a very bad injury to the arm, and I got such bad pain in it that I couldn't carve anymore. And the doctor told me I had to give up the carving, so I gave it up.
Okay, what did you use? Hand tools only?
Oh,
did
yeah.
you use
Just hammer and chisels.
hammer and chisels? Wow. So who actually taught you how to carve? Like, who was your first carving instructor?
No one. I just took a piece of marble and chipped away, and anything that didn't look like what I wanted to carve, I just cut away at it.
Wow. So if you make a mistake, it's not very forgiving.
I made
And
a mistake on this over here. Terrible mistake. And I chopped off a great, because the head was out here. In other words, over here. And I made a terrible mistake. So I cut the whole thing off and made the head go into the stone.
okay, so you worked with what you had left, which it looks very natural, and
Yeah.
you must have been happy with the final result.
Well, it got me some nice awards, so.
Anything on this wall that you wouldn't want to comment on? Any?
Not really. These are just little things I picked up, and these are the crosses I always would get from my friend Jerry in New Mexico. That's about it.
Okay. We're going to continue as we go into the studio. So we're continuing our tour of Gloria Devereaux, AWS member, artist. And we're down in her sitting room, and she has a lovely, beautiful marble inlaid floor here.
Yeah, with a messy rug on top.
With a messy rug on top, but
antique rug.
and this is one of her treasured collectibles that she's amassed over the years. And Gloria, can you tell our viewers what you have here?
Yes, this. I started collecting shells, as most people do when they walk over the beach. They find pretty shells and they want to pick them up. So when we were down in the Yucatan, there was all kinds of wonderful things on the beaches down there. And a Spanish ship had sunk, which the book that I wrote is all pertaining to the Spanish ship. And I found lots of treasures from the Spanish ship. Like these beads over here that are up here. All these little tiny beads, I picked them up. See them there?
Yeah.
And I strung them. And I gave them to all the children, and they all have necklaces of the beads. And these are quartz crystals in here, in that little box right there, Richie. I think you can see it better if you go like that. And you see this here? Those are all pins and needles that are all fused together from being in the salt water, and there were all bunches of them all together there that were on the ship. All these interesting things, the beads, the buckles from the men's uniform, the buckles I think are over there.
I see what it looks like an earring.
Yes, that I found in the sea down there in the Caribbean. And all those little glass buttons, or rather, yeah, buttons. They're little buttons. Most of the metal is corroded away because it was in the water for so long.
Now you went diving. Did you go deep? Like was it scuba?
Did some scuba diving for them, but I also did most of it with a scuba, and just standing down and looking in the water and being able to be careful because they had a lot of dangerous things in the water. So I made sure that I wasn't going to be attacked by one of those eels that grab onto you, you know, and won't let you go.
Now this was in the Yucatan. This is what give our viewers a time frame. When did you first start heading down to the Yucatan?
We went down there in 1959 and loved it, and then we went down constantly from 1969 to 1978.
Now, did you have friends that were down there? Like, what drew you to the Yucatan?
No.
How did you get the idea to go? Because back then, the Yucatan wasn't really a vacation spot.
No, there was nothing there, as a matter of fact. We were flying down, and Al looked down at over the Caribbean and saw the white sand beach, and he said, "Hey, Glo, I think I'd like to explore that area down there." I said, "Okay." I was willing to do most anything because I loved adventures and stuff. And so that was in 1959. Then many years later, in 1969, maybe it was 68, we went down, we went to Merida, we stayed in Merida, and then we rented a little car, and drove all the way out to the Yucatan. There was nothing there. As a matter of fact, Yucatan, that is now the magnificent area that it is, was not even opened up then, and it was not connected with the mainland. It was a separate island by itself, and on the mainland there were only 17 people living in Cancun.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all.
So what did you do? Did you put tents up? Did you rent a mobile home? How did you actually, were you able to stay there?
Not at that point. What we decided to do was go down and stay in a motel, and then just in the little car, go down the whole entire road on the Yucatan mainland. And there was a dirt road that was piled up, so it was rough going. And then every road or place that we looked like a path or something, we drove down to the beach.
Okay.
And we got stuck a few times. We had to pull ourselves out. But I didn't mind. That was all kind of fun.
And now, were there other couples, other people going down there at that time? Were the beaches were basically deserted?
There was nobody there.
Wow.
Absolutely nobody there. 17 people in Cancun.
Wow.
That was it. And then when we went down a little road that is supposed to be a great big resort now, we drove down this path, got stuck a couple times, and we pushed the car out and kept going. We came into this beautiful, beautiful little area, and there were a group of people. They all looked like they were Chinese people, but that was the Mayans. And they had a little bit of a place there that they all lived in their little shack, so to speak. And then we drove all the way to the water, and there were 3 temples up on a mound. Very small temples. They were lookouts. And it was so magnificent, Richie. It was all this beautiful, deep, lush green of the plants, and iridescent blue butterflies were flying all over. Oh, what a sight that was. It was gorgeous.
Now, at that time, were you painting in watercolor yet, or were you really in your prolific stage?
Yes, I had started to paint in watercolor, and I wasn't doing a lot of work at that point. But I was painting, yes. And I had a little sketchbook and stuff. I would just sketch little ideas.
So that must have been very instrumental and influential and inspiring to want to start creating more.
Oh, yes, it was.
Okay, is that one of the subject matters you've painted in the past? Have you done some?
Not really, no.
No, you haven't?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I always loved to do bursting surf and rocks, that was one of my favorite subjects. So I used to do a lot of those paintings. And of course, it was sort of bursting rocks and surf, somewhat so down in the Yucatan.
Now, at that time, were you taking a lot of pictures, some photographs? Do you have a lot of photographs that you've taken
Well,
of
Al
that?
took a lot of slides and stuff.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah, so those must be interesting to look at.
I don't know. I hardly look at them anymore.
Wow. Okay, so now that must
So
have
then
created your interest
Then
in...
we kept going down the beach. Because, of course, we were staying out in Puerto Juarez, I think it was, or Morelos. Out at the end of the Yucatan Peninsula, there was a motel there. That's where we stayed. But we couldn't stay overnight anyplace because there was nothing along the coast so far. But then we drove down this one road, and there we found Acumal. And there were 5 bungalows there, facing the Caribbean. And so we decided that we were going to stay there. And so we moved from the point, I'd have to go back and check the name of the end of the Yucatan Peninsula there before it dips down. I've kind of forgotten the name, forgive me.
That's where you were staying at the hotel, the motel?
Acumal, yes.
Okay.
It was not really a hotel, it was just a 5 bungalows.
Gotcha.
So and there was nobody there. And they had this huge restaurant. And it was great big, nobody was there in the place. We were the only 2 people there. So they had a manager, Miguel Gonzalez. He was a great guy. And Miguel said, stay with us and enjoy the beautiful sea and the white sand beaches, and you can have one of these bungalows. So we stayed in one of the bungalows. They were, fairly large, up on 2 stories.
Okay.
And that's where we stayed for about a week, 10 days, I guess, exploring the whole area. But we loved Acumal. And so Al talked to Miguel, and he said, listen, we would like to come back and live on the beach. Would it be okay if we brought a trailer down? Oh, Miguel said, sure, you can have any place along the beach that you want. There was nothing there, so we found a nice spot, and we said, we'd like to stay right there. So we did, the next year. Then we met Don Pablo and Elsie, who owned the whole place. Excuse me, my nose is running. And so he came down, and when he knew we were staying on the beach on his property, and got friendly with us, and was taken with us, and we were taken with him. Then he told me about the story about the ship, and how he had investigated, because he was looking into sunken ships from the 1700s, and this one sunk just down the way a little bit in the Caribbean, right there. And I found out where it was, and I'd go wading into the water because it's sunk in 14 feet of water, or I'd swim out to it and snorkel, and you could see still old parts of the ship. Most of the stuff, all the treasure he took, and he put it into a little museum. So, but I found a few things, not really great treasure, but
anything you find is exciting when you're searching and you find something, even if you find like you say a button or...
Yeah, I was all excited about finding these beads. They were all laying in the sand. I picked every one up individually and put them all together in little necklaces for the children. And I think, was it Anna, one of them took the beads, and then they had little gold beads put in between these blue, black, and white ones.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that necklace.
Yeah.
Okay, and you put it in this beautiful display case of glass. It's a great idea.
All the treasure. That is organ pipe coral there. That's the only piece I ever found of that. That's pineapple coral over there. You see it? Looks like a pineapple. The big thing that's sits over there. And these are all different kinds of sea urchins. Some still have the spines on them. They're all over. And there's a ball. You see the glass balls that I've got in there?
Yeah.
See them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, those were from the fishing nets that the Japanese and the Portuguese put out way out to sea, and they'd break off the nets. And there's this one here, and there's one over here. And over here you can see the coral still all over it. And I found them on the beach. And so, of course, I was picking up everything. Come home with all these wonderful treasures. I feel they were treasures.
Sure, of course. Okay, this is the studio here of Gloria Devereaux.
And it's a very small studio, because in all the other houses I had great big studios. But this was the only place, and so I gave up the garage and made myself a simple little studio. It's pretty crowded because I don't have all that much room in it.
Oh, it's nice. It's a nice size studio. Don't sell it short. It's beautiful space. Beautiful soaring cathedral ceiling here, with a beautiful natural lighting from the sunroof. Some of your awards.
That's an unfinished thing on the easel that I'm eventually going to get to. Eventually. This is a big prize winner over here, and several people have wanted it.
Black Dragon, beautiful.
Salvage, yes.
Black Dragon Salvage, beautiful piece.
It won a lot of awards, and as you can see, I've won over 60 awards through my lifetime. And it's too bad. See, I'm so crowded in here, which you really can't see these things very well. But that painting there, in 3 books that they selected me for. Let's see, there's one. I'll put them out, and you can see these. Yeah. These were big competitions, and you had to be selected. And this one here, where is it? Oh, here. Oh, yeah, I'm dining.
I'm just scanning some of your awards here.
Oh.
I have a lot of certificates here from different shows.
Yeah, I have. What did I do with that whole thing? It's someplace I've got all ribbons and all the other prizes that I won through the years.
Now this deep blue looks like it's oil or acrylics.
Yes, I did a few oils when I first started painting, but I didn't like it, and so I never really did too much. I did that one, and someone really bought one of them. And there's the only other one I have left. It's over in here. Oh, there's all the ribbons and everything way up there.
This is your school picture from...
Yeah, from public school, grammar school, and I'm up in the back there. Let's see.
What school was this?
PS 193.
In Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn, yeah.
How long did you live in Brooklyn?
Up until I was 18, that's when I got married. I think, is that me there? Let's get my glasses on now.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's me.
So you lived in Brooklyn from...
Here's, let's see, where is he? Albert Ammerman. His mother was so disappointed when I married Al Devereaux.
He's the one that got away, right?
He's actually, I wanted Gloria to marry my Albert. He's up in here someplace, very tall blonde guy, someplace in here. We knew each other since we were 3 years old.
Yeah, that's funny. Ooh, that head up there, that skull, what is that from?
Oh, I had a wonderful friend that I met in the Yucatan, Maureen Limon. She sent me that skull because I said I always had desires for a beautiful skull. That came from a museum in South Dakota. It belonged to a very famous man, and she sent that to me. Oh, I was thrilled to get that.
That's a beautiful piece.
That skull.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. These are the 3 books.
These are the books that I was selected for. Now this one. A big competition with, I don't know, 1,000 entries or whatever, and they selected this one, which is in the dining room.
And that painting
that won awards and then was all over the United States.
What gave you the inspiration for that?
I was a very strange thing. I was up in Monhegan Island, and I was painting, and we could not go out that day because it was so foggy. We couldn't see anything. And so I sat in my room and I heard the foghorn going, ooh, ooh. And that inspired that painting. It doesn't look like a foghorn. But it did great things for me.
Beautiful work, beautiful.
Awarded for this book.
Now, how typically, how long would you spend on a painting like that?
This one took a little more time because it's very intricate. When you'll see the painting in the dining room there, you can get a better picture of it. Now, this one here is that over there.
Yep.
And I was disappointed because this is a friend of mine, and this is a little tiny painting, and they put me over here, you know. But I was so delighted to make the book. This is the first book I was in.
And that painting would, if it was a little larger, you'd get the full gist of
thing, because you see it over here anyway.
Magnificent piece.
And then this is the piece that's up there, Richie, and someone said that's the best painting you've ever done.
And what was the inspiration for this painting?
I don't know. I just kept wanting to use black gesso and a bunch of things. And,
it just came out.
You want the names of these books?
The Best of Watercolor. Now, who was your first watercolor instructor?
Ed Whitney.
Ed Whitney.
Ed Whitney.
Can you tell us a little about Ed?
He is the one that took me from an ordinary amateur watercolorist to a professional. He was, and everybody said the same, was one of the finest watercolor teachers that was around. Wasn't a very good painter, but what a teacher. And he said, I don't care if you can draw a straight line or even know anything about drawing. I don't care about that. I want you to learn composition. And that's something I'm saying, what's he talking about? What's he talking about? And the funny thing is, I was going into art students leagues because I was always crazy about doing the figure, the nude.
Yeah.
And when I went in, I said, yeah, I think I'm going to do watercolor, and I'm going to buy a watercolor book. And of all the books I bought, it was Edgar Whitney's book.
Okay.
And then I met him years later.
Okay, hold on.
That was a coincidence. It was like I was drawn to that book, and I was meant to meet Ed Whitney, and Ed Whitney was the one that took me from an ordinary amateur painter into a professional and doing what I did in my life. I did watercolor all by myself for a few years, and then someone said to me, you know, Gloria, there's a teacher that you ought to go and see. And so I said, what's his name? She said, Ed Whitney. Well, isn't that a strange thing? I said, I bought his book about a year or so ago, and I would like to meet him. So we went to a thing over in Long Beach at the library over there where he was demonstrating, doing a painting, and talking to the whole group. It was a loaded room, and I was sitting maybe 3/4 of the way back, and he was saying, and I want you all to learn how to do composition, because that'll make all the difference in the world in your art. And he said, And he went, and that goes for you, Blue Eyes. And he pointed all the way to me, and I just sunk down in the chair. I was so embarrassed.
Now, at that time, what were you doing at that time as far as
I was painting
painting?
all by myself.
Okay, and this is what, the 60s? What will give us a time?
Started in 59-ish.
59.
Yeah.
So had you always as a child?
I always loved art. As a little kid, I was always doing all kinds of paintings in tempera paint, and I was doing Alabama and the. There she is again.
Hold on. Okay, so you were saying you were working with now this is the late 50s. You were working with.
Oh no! This was when I was about 7, 8, 9.
Okay,
years
so as a
old.
child, you were working actually with paints and.
Oh yes, and I loved doing Alibaba, and did a big painting of the Alibaba and the 40 Thieves and all those little exciting things. I liked the foreignness, that I.
Strange worlds and strange lands.
That's right. That's why I guess I love the Yucatan and exploring the ship and all that, and. There was a girl across the street. She was going to Girls Commercial High School, and she was doing fashion. I said, oh, Pauline, her name was Pauline Gray. Pauline, I love doing fashion work. I love doing the figure. She said, then you go to Girls Commercial. Well, when I got ready to graduate from grammar school, my father wanted me to go to Packer Institute. He definitely wanted me to go to one of the...
Was that in Brooklyn?
Yes, upper echelon high schools. I said, Daddy, I want to go to Girls Commercial and study fashion illustration, because I was crazy about that. I was going to be a fashion illustrator. Excuse me, this nose of mine drives me nuts. He said, well, if that's what you want, Gloria, okay. So he let me go ahead, and that's where I went to high school.
Okay, so you actually were in an arts high school.
Yes.
That definitely helped you develop.
And we had the nude figure when I was 15 years old in high school.
Wow, so at that time that was controversial.
I brought home these nude drawings that I was doing in high school, and my father said, is that what you're doing in school? He was shocked. He was such a pure man. His daughter drawing nude figures.
So now after high school, now did you stop painting, or do you continue to draw and illustrate and paint after you got married? You kind of put it down?
I got married, and
the creativeness stopped for a while?
Until I was about 40 years old.
And that's when
I started again.
Okay, and does that coincide when you went to
inspiration from the Yucatan.
Okay, then you picked up your pen and your sketchbook and your brushes and your paints.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someplace in this crazy place here, I have the very first stuff, which I'm almost ashamed to show you. It was so primitive.
So you did that, and then you met Mr. Whitney in, what was that, the late 60s?
Whitney when I was about 45, 46.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long did you study with him for?
I studied with him up until the time we left and went up to Vermont.
So that was, what year was that?
That was in 1972.
Oh, okay, so it was a long period.
Oh, yeah, I was with him for at least 10 years, I think.
Was it a group class setting?
Class, yes.
Taking one day a week, or how often did you?
On Saturdays, he'd meet us over in Douglaston, and he'd take everybody to breakfast, and then he'd go out on location, and he'd demonstrate, do a painting, demonstrate, and then say, okay, you have 4 or 5 hours to do a painting. Go on and do a painting. We meet back at the back of my truck here for a drink. He gave everybody a shot, and we'll critique the paintings.
Okay.
The whole thing cost $5 for the day.
Wow. Now, you stopped doing the figure, and at that time, that's when you started doing outdoor landscape scenes
landscapes then.
Okay, when do you feel like you found your voice, or so to speak, or when did you have that confidence that you knew
I think almost immediately, because I had been up in Vermont, and I came down from Vermont and went to his first class. It was over in Douglaston, a little store there that he did his teaching, and I went to the class, and the way he was teaching, I thought, oh my God, I don't know whether I can do that. But I did what he you know, I saw the demonstration, and then I did a painting, and then I went up to him for a critique. He said, "Oh, you've been painting in watercolor for a long time, haven't you?" And it had only been working for about 3 or 4 years in watercolor, I guess, if it was that long. So he was very impressed with the work, but he just gave me 1 or 2 little pointers about composition. I clicked right away with him.
Do you remember the first work that you did that you
Yes, I
said,
do.
like, wow, I did this and I'm proud of it and I know I've made it like this?
Well, it wasn't a completed painting, so I really wasn't proud of it. But I could see I needed him. I needed him for teaching, definitely.
Okay.
And so I did.
Very
And
good.
then I took my figure study with Marshall Glazier in Art Students League. But I only went occasionally into Art Students League.
Okay, now these are some of the works that you've done over the years.
Well, really, we should come back and...
All right, well, this is going to be continued at a later date. And I see
Yeah.
a work in the back there that was done by someone other than yourself. So that's your granddaughter, Carolina, who's a very talented artist.
On his sister.
Okay, she's a very talented artist in her own right.
Yeah, she is.
She'll find her voice eventually also.
Yeah.
She's married to the famous Spaniard artist, Francisco Fernandez, from very talented surrealist painter from Brooklyn.
And when you come back next time, we're going to...